pricing is such a big thing for people when they first come in. I remember even struggling with it on my first. It's like, I feel like that's the hardest decision, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to charge too much because if I charge too much, they might go somewhere else. Or, oh my goodness, I don't want to charge too little because then if I charge too little, then I'm going to be working for free, and it totally happened. So you kind of have to walk that line, and you get better at pricing and kind of develop your own way of pricing. I think all of us have kind of adapted a little bit as we've become more comfortable with pricing.
Here's another one, Tracy. Should I get my LLC set up before trying to get prospective clients?
I would recommend to set it up if you're going to set it up. And the reason is because then you don't have to change things later. You could potentially start out as a sole proprietor. You don't necessarily have to have an LLC. But if you're going to, like, if that's in the plans, it's easier to start that way. That way you don't have to change things over at a later date. So, like your bank account, opening your bank account, it would already be in the name of the LLC. There's a lot of things that you have to think about when you start your business, and having that LLC chosen, having that name set up, it's going to make it a little bit easier if that's the route you're going to go. But you absolutely don't have to. And in fact, I'm wondering, did everyone here, Sharon, Marissa, Alicia, did you guys start your LLC first?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, so we all did. We all did. I know that we have people. I want to say one of our mentors even started as a sole proprietor and then later on changed over to an LLC. So, I mean, it is absolutely possible, but it is easier if you just start that way. And there's the benefit, there's legal protections with that. There's also some tax benefits later on if you choose to like tax yourself as a corporation later. So, I mean, there's some benefits to that.
I also think it's a mindset. I'm just going to tell you right now. When you go in, you're like, I'm going to create my business and I'm ready to move forward. You create that LLC and you go, right? And I think that that's just part of it. You're taking the steps to get your business off the ground. If you don't do that, you're just kind of dabbling. You're not going in. So to me, it's also a mindset of we're creating a business. This is not a hobby. This is your business. And with a business has an LLC. So in my opinion, I think you should do it as you're taking those steps to move forward.
That's a really good point. And I actually know, I've had a client before that looked up people that they were going to do business with the Secretary of State to see if they had an LLC because they felt that that was more professional. They wanted to do business with other businesses. And so there is something valid about that.
I mean, how many of you have ever looked at someone, you're like, oh, here's a Gmail versus here's your email with a company, right? It's the validity of it. So you're right. People look for that validity. And if it looks like you're established, even if you don't even have your first client yet, if it looks like you're established, it instantly gives you that credibility that people will be like, all right, I want to work with you, right? Versus you going, oh, I'm still using my Gmail and oh, I'm going to create my LLC down the road. That's not giving them too much of the warm and fuzzies, right? So you want to create that solid feel for your clients. So all right, let's see what else we got. Beth has a good question. Would you advise setting up a business phone number when you first get started rather than using your personal phone number?
I think this kind of goes along the same lines. I mean, if you're getting yourself set up as a business, get yourself set up as a business. It's going to be a lot easier than changing it over later. I think another thing is boundaries are really important. We've all kind of come to that in our own way of finding, our boundaries. And if somebody has your cell phone number and they're calling you 24/7, that's a little bit harder to keep those boundaries than if you have a separate phone that you can shut off, or even another line on your phone. That's what I have. I have a second line on my actual cell phone. So it's one phone, but I'm able to have those separate lines so I can turn one off if I want to.
I'm actually just in the process of doing that right now because that's a lesson I learned at the very beginning was I don't want to give out my personal phone number because there are some clients who respect your boundaries and there are some that you have to have a couple conversations with. So this week I'm actually looking into Google Voice right now.
But Sharon or Alicia, do y'all have any thoughts either way?
I have not felt the need to do that. You know, I used to be a real estate agent for many years and I never had a separate line for that. And in that business, I was kind of working around the clock. So I would tend to take calls, not quite every hour of the day, but 8, 9, 10 o'clock sometimes. But in this business, I haven't gotten a second line or a second phone or anything. And I have yet to have a client that is, overstepping boundaries. I will get maybe a call or a text after hours, and I just don't answer it until business hours. Even if it comes in at, Friday evening, I'm waiting until Monday. And I haven't had anybody say to me, how come I haven't heard from you? I think there is a certain expectation that, well, I might be emailing them at 10 o'clock on Saturday night, but I have no expectation that they will answer me until business hours on Monday. I, and I'm operating under them having that assumption. So far, I have not run up against anybody who is expressing anything other than that. So I've been lucky to not have clients that are muddying the boundaries and not respecting my time. If I ran into that, I'd probably look into Google Voice as well. So far, it hasn't come to that.
Alicia?
So my reason for getting a second line is actually the opposite of that. It's because I needed to set boundaries for myself. So I put my personal phone on do not disturb while I'm working. And then I have my office phone on my desk so that when my clients are calling, texting, whatever, I can respond to them. Because I found when I had my personal cell phone, I was like, oh, bzz, who's that? Oh, bzz, who's that? Oh, and I could not get anything done. Along with once you put your cell phone number on Google and all over the internet, you get a lot of spam calls. So I'm able to turn off my work phone after hours and not have to worry about those. But it really helped me to be able to focus in when I had that boundary for myself to not play on my cell phone during my working hours.
Awesome. Now, as you can tell, all of our coaches all have difference of opinion. So there's not a right or a wrong answer. It's really what's best for you. So I love that. This was the perfect example of that. Daniel says, question regarding what is recommended to charge clients, hourly versus packages?
I mean, I think this is a hard question. Not necessarily a hard question, but like a lot to unpack because there's so much that can go into pricing. What we typically recommend is we actually have a pricing calculator that we use in the academy. And anyone that joins the academy, they get access to this pricing calculator. They're able to make a copy and then use it for pricing their clients. What it is based off of is it is transactional, but it also gives it's not hourly. It's not hourly. It's kind of a hybrid model, I guess, if I was going to explain it, because it is kind of loosely based on value pricing, but it's also loosely based on how much time you're going to spend on a client. We're trying to estimate those things and make it easy for you, or for anybody that's coming in. I think like pricing is such a big thing for people when they first come in. I remember even struggling with it on my first. It's like I feel like that's the hardest decision. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to charge too much because if I charge too much, they might go somewhere else. Or oh my goodness, I don't want to charge too little because then if I charge too little, then I'm gonna be working for free, and it totally happened. So you kind of have to walk that line, and you get better at pricing and kind of develop your own way of pricing. I think all of us have kind of developed our own way in a sense, a little bit, at least adapted a little bit, as we've become more comfortable with pricing. But we do have that pricing calculator that makes it really easy to just kind of plug numbers in to where it makes sense. You can look at it and you can say, okay, they have 100 transactions and they have 3 bank accounts and they have, we're going to run payroll, we're going to pay sales tax for one state. And then gives you a number, and you know that it's based off of doing this amount of work and about how much time it's going to take you to do that amount of work. And so so having that all together takes kind of the mysteriousness out of pricing.
Total guesswork. Yeah.
Guesswork.
Guesswork, that's better. That's better. The guesswork out of pricing. It takes the guesswork out of it. I'm gonna go with Alicia here because I know Alicia has her own way of pricing too.
I do. So I built my pricing house off the foundation of the pricing calculator. But I now actually do a three-tier proposals. So I was very against it in the beginning whenever I was like, that's a lot of work to do three prices. Once you understand it, it's not. But it actually dawned on me when I was buying a subscription of something myself. I was like, I don't want the base one. I do like these extra like things. I need that. Yes, I need that. And every single time I would pick the middle or highest tier out of the three. And I was like, I feel like I'm kind of limiting myself with my clients that because I'm telling them like this is what your price is. So I started like sprinkling those in, and every single time the client chooses the middle or highest package. So I shifted to that model, but the pricing calculator in the academy is spot on 99.9% of the time with what the like standard pricing is. And it's amazing for like starting points. And then if you want to, put your own pizzazz on it, then, whatever works for you. But the pricing calculator was a game changer for me.